views and opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect those of Access Fort Wayne, the Allen County Public Library, or any other supporting groups. If you'd like to produce a show, call us at 260-421-1250.
Let me be your lighthouse so I can show you the way. Let me be your shining light, I'll keep you from drifting away. I'm the one that makes you try when...
Hello, this is Patty Hunter of Patty's Page. Today I'm doing a Skype interview today with a wonderful person named Bob Baker. Now Bob Baker is an author, speaker, musician, as well as a former music magazine editor, and he's showing all musicians how they can improve themselves. We'll catch him in a second, so I'll catch you later in a moment. Hello, Bob Baker. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic, Patty. Thanks for having me on as a guest today.
So tell me, what is it that you do? You have the buzzfactor.com. What is that?
Well, yes, thebuzzfactor.com is my home on the internet for all of my music marketing related information. And even though I do a lot of things in the creative world, the work that I've been doing in the area of music marketing is probably the longest running thing that I've been doing, really like for over 20 years now.
Wow.
I've been online a long time. I first got online like in 1995, so like 21 years ago. So yeah, the Buzz Factor was a website I established early on to basically, I've been for many years have been dishing out information, resources, tips, success stories for independent artists, showing them how to promote themselves. And this all started because I was just a curious musician myself, who was wondering how do bands, how do some bands and some artists attract fans and sell music, and some make a living and others don't. And so it actually sprung out of a newspaper that I used to publish here in my hometown of St. Louis, Missouri, where because I published this music magazine, I had access to interview lots of different artists at different levels, and I was always picking their brains and taking their best practices and putting it out in columns that I would write in my own paper, and that turned into workshops and books and a pretty active life online. And so that's kind of a short story of what the Buzz Factor is.
You've been busy, man. Tell me, where were you born? Were you born where you're at right now, St. Louis?
Yes, so I'm born and raised in St. Louis. Lived here my entire life. I love traveling to other places, but never really felt like there was a lot. There's people that say, "Why don't you live in Nashville or LA or New York?" And I'm really content living in St. Louis. I have a lot of roots here. Cost of living is great.
Oh, is it?
But even though we have some issues in the city here, it's a pretty nice place to live, and you can always travel somewhere else, centrally located, in the States, and it's not too far from Fort Wayne, where you're located.
Oh boy, you should come here sometime.
I know. I'm trying to remember if I have. I think I've been to Fort Wayne, but it's been a while.
When you were growing up, who had influenced you to become interested in music?
Well, let's see. My mom wasn't a musician or a performer at all herself, but she did love music. She loved to dance, and so I grew up in my house in the '60s, listening to like Elvis Presley and a lot of music from the '50s and '60s, and I started singing it around the house. And eventually, in like, I don't know, 5th grade or something, I remember getting up at a family function. It was like an old school version of karaoke. Somebody was playing records, and people were taking turns getting up and singing. And I was a very shy kid back then, but my mom encouraged me to get up and sing in front of this living in a living room setting with some family members, and I was kind of reluctant, but I got up and was singing an Elvis song, and as they started clapping and getting into it, I became energized. I started doing some hip swivels, like Elvis. In fact, if you can see a portrait
I
of
see.
Elvis on your back there. But at the end, but that was like a light bulb moment for me, where like, wow, this was
Aha moment.
music.
Aha
Yeah,
moment.
I can sing, I get approval. What's not to love? And so that kind of sparked my interest in pursuing music. And I am a musician. I mean, a lot of people know me as an author.
Yeah.
However, I'm a very active working musician, guitar player, singer, songwriter. Played in many bands over the years, and still play part time, mostly these days in churches.
Yeah.
But yeah, I never stopped playing.
So, how many job positions have you had since you left school? You've had a lot.
Yeah. So I am very blessed that much of my adult life I've been self-employed. However, over the years I had a variety of part-time and even full-time jobs. The last one that I had was 12 years ago.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
I've done everything. I mean, when I was younger, I did everything from temp jobs to bussing tables,
Been there.
and stuff. But the last job, that full-time job that I had 12 years ago, I worked for 5 years, like in the corporate world, in internal communications, though. So I was actually I continued to work sort of as a journalist within a company, and continued to hone my writing and editing skills. And so it was in a related field, but I always knew that I wanted to be self-employed, and I was stubbornly determined to figure out a way to support myself doing something that I love, something that I'm good at, and something that serves people. And so luckily I've been able to do that.
So you fine-tuned yourself into being an author as well as a speaker, musician, former music magazine editor. Hey, I'm impressed.
Yeah, well, that was the newspaper or the magazine that I mentioned where I had the access to interview people. I just started that on my own here in St. Louis in the late '80s. I did that for 10 years.
Wow.
And so with no previous experience as a music journalist or as a journalist or anything, just seemed like a good idea. And there was a need in the market. Like there are in a lot of cities with, there's all the local musicians or artists always feel that they could use more publicity and exposure. And so I created a vehicle for that and sold ads in it, and, somehow managed to eke out a living back then doing that, but it was a lot of fun.
When you started out online, what did you do? You're teaching or doing courses or?
Well, when I my newspaper was around, like I said, for 10 years, and in the middle of that is when the internet started taking off. And so locally I was writing columns in my own newspaper. It was a print newspaper, so I wasn't online with it. It was physically distributed around St. Louis. And then there were a lot of local music newspapers in other cities around the country, and as they heard about these columns that I would write, they started asking me if they could reprint them in their cities. So I actually started expanding to other cities even before I was online. Then when I got online, I immediately saw the beauty of two things. One, of email. So I immediately started building an email list and spreading my tips that way, my music marketing tips. And then I would seek out, I was basically just taking the same articles that I was putting in the print publications and making them available online, eventually on my own site. But any music site that wanted to run them, I would freely allow them to do so. And at the end of every article, there was a little link about how to get on my email newsletter to get more of these tips. And that's kind of, so it all started with text.
You work with Berkeley?
And then I was publishing books around that time. My first book had come out, and I started promoting my books through email and then through my website some years later.
You worked with Berkeley, right? Doing courses?
I did. I created one course. So since I've been online so long, I established a presence, I guess a reputation, and then one book that I published called the Guerrilla Music Marketing Handbook was very popular. And so actually Berklee College of Music in Boston approached me around 2006 or 7, so it's been about 10 years ago. They approached me to create a course called Music Marketing 101. So I created that for them, and I also taught it. I was the online instructor, just working from St. Louis, and I had students from all over the world who took this online course, and it was they ran it for 5 years. It was a great run.
Yeah,
and a
doing
nice
it
feather in
still?
my cap to be associated with Berkeley.
You not gonna do anything more with them, or you got your
There's,
own?
there are no plans right now. It was a great, yeah, I had a great experience, and I still am in touch with a lot of my students from those days. But since then, I've been just independently creating courses, primarily on a site called Udemy. But I've got a number of different music marketing and other topics that I create on my own. Yeah, I'm very independent minded, so virtually all of my books, with the exception of two, I've independently published myself. I do that with all my courses and everything else. The Berkeley thing was an exception. That was sort of like a yeah.
Treat. It's like more like a treat, really.
Yeah.
I did some studying on Berkeley as well, doing songwriting. I write lyrics and I have some songs out. I don't sing, but I do have several songs sung by others. Some from Holland, Canada, here in Fort Wayne. Yeah,
Awesome.
it's fun. You do
Great.
your own. You have a blog, right?
I do, yeah. So I pretty much, over the years, as the internet evolved, I jumped on whatever new technology or whatever new form of communication was catching on. And so I've been blogging since 2004.
Oh, yeah.
I've been running a podcast, or I started my first podcast, I should say, in 2005. I have 3 of them now. I got on YouTube in 2006. So yeah, I communicate via the written word, text, through blogging,
Yeah.
through my books and so on, in email, through audio, through my podcast, and then video through my YouTube channel, which I actually, as we speak, I'm about to hit. Now I've been on YouTube for 10 years, and this is like hundreds of videos, but I'm about
Oh,
to
my.
hit 600,000 channel views
Oh my.
for all of my videos on YouTube, which is kind of exciting.
Wow. You do critiquing as well when you do have time for an individuals or band.
Yeah, that's a service that I've offered. I don't do a whole lot of it, but yeah, I do like a website. Primarily, what I'm offering these days is a website critique, because I've seen a lot of websites. I've designed my own, and I can pretty quickly, kind of see what the missing pieces. I do video critique, so I'll actually do like a screencast. I'll be going over someone's website, clicking through different pages, and pointing out as I go through their what's right and what's areas for improvement.
How many books have you written? Can I ask?
Sure. Oh yeah. So I have in paperback format. I actually earlier this year published my 12th book.
Oh,
In addition to that, so those are all things that are available as physical paperback books. And this is going back to 1993. My first book came out, so that's over the course of like 23 years. In addition to that, there's probably another dozen titles that are available, shorter titles that are available only as ebooks. And in addition to that, I've got some audio programs, audio books on Audible.
Oh, that's good.
Of course, the online courses. And so there's just, many, many ways that
audio
I
is good for people who.
create resources in many different formats. And actually in 2015, I had my most prolific year when I published like 4 different titles in 1 year. 2 of them were new music marketing titles. One of them was a book I'm really proud of called The Empowered Artist, which is a book for creative people of all types. It's really more about mindset and the success principles of successful creative people in all fields. And then I also published my first work of fiction in 2015, which is about about a journalist in St. Louis. They
Like
say
you.
write what you know. It's a fictitious story, and that's kind of fun.
I have a question.
You bet.
Let's talk about music marketing. Now that's one of your biggest thing, right? To how can you? What advice do you give musicians to improve themselves, to be able to sell more, and to get more fans and stuff? I mean,
Yeah.
just basically.
So yeah, this is a huge topic, so I'm only going to be able to scratch the surface. But so number one is before we get to marketing, you really have to have a good product. But basically, my number one advice is to work on your craft and that's different for every artist. It could be, I mean, I know, some people are just instrumentalists, some people are only singers, some people are songwriters and singers. They have the kind of the whole package. So it's whatever you do in the music world, whether you're a DJ or a producer or whatever. Work on your craft. I mean, don't neglect spending time on improving your skills at playing, singing, writing, recording, performing too. All those things can be enhanced just through regularly committing time to it. So commit time to your art and make it as excellent as you possibly can, and continue to be prolific in your output. So that's like really the number one advice for anyone in a creative field. Two is when you think about marketing, don't get like too sidetracked by the tools or the tactics. It's all about relationship building, primarily with your fans. I'm very much about artists building their own careers, and so focusing on building a fan base. Industry people, media people, those are important relationships to build also. The relationship that you have with fans, people that support you, that come to your shows, that are really interested in your stuff, want to get to know you better, and then are willing to purchase your things. Those are the relationships you really need to hone. So early in a career, that's like one-on-one. You're building it one fan at a time, and then over time, those numbers get larger, and then you start, attracting more and more people. And those existing fans, if they really are excited by what you do and there's something that touches them, they will spread the word to their friends and to other people.
So you have to be more open up to your fans. I mean, not to the point of giving every detail of your personal life, but
it's up to every person to decide what they want to share. If you're a private person, you determine what aspect of yourself. But some people who are more open will share everything, and if they're comfortable with that, then share as much or as little as you. I would actually caution not to be hold too much back. Share. You don't want to give your home address, or maybe you don't want to talk about your kids if you have a family or something, but that's up to you. Although people can relate to family stuff too. So, you have to determine where to draw that line.
Be in the middle.
Yeah.
Be in the middle. So tell me, what other subjects are you still singing, right?
Yeah, I continue to play music. Yeah, record music. My girlfriend and I, her name is Pookie, and the two of us have put out 2 albums over the last few years.
That's one of our
We're about to release a third one with a choir that we, so I continue to perform a couple times a month. So I do, as I kind of hinted at, I do a number of creative things. So so obviously the writing and the book publishing is the primary thing. That's what pays most of the bills. In addition to that, as we mentioned, all the paintings on the wall behind me, I'm not sure how much of that you can see.
I can see all of them, really. Did you paint all that?
Those are all paintings, that I do. I kind of do a lot of celebrity portrait, Elvis and Audrey Hepburn.
Yeah.
There's Edgar Allan Poe, Bob Marley's over there, if you can see him. And so, I paint. I sell paintings every now and then, do a little bit of commission work. I also teach and perform improv comedy, which is
love it.
Source of joy and little extra income. And so, it's the books. So there's 4 areas. Oh yeah, music, books, art, improv. Those are like the 4 main areas. That's plenty to keep me busy.
You get any sleep at all?
And they all bring in a little bit of money. And it's not that you have to monetize your art, whatever that art is. You can just do it for the joy of it. However, I'm determined to support myself in the arts, and so I purposely find ways to create value that it's worth paying for in some instances. And so between the books, the music that I do, the improv classes and shows, the artwork, it all brings in streams of income that adds up to me being able to not have to work for someone else. So.
The audio books. What's on that?
Well, let's see. So I have 3 titles that are officially like on Amazon and Audible.com. And they are, and actually, surprisingly, none of them I think are music marketing based yet. I have a book called Branding Yourself Online, which is really popular in an audio format. I have one called the DIY Career Manifesto, which is almost kind of like half memoir and half inspirational business building book. I use a lot of milestones from my own life to encourage people to pursue their passions and make a business out of it. That's called the DIY Career Manifesto. And then another one, oh yeah, this is a kind of a fun, obscure title called Personal and Spiritual Growth for Fun People. The Secret Guide to Joy and Prosperity. So it's like a lot of my positive thinking messages kind of from a very humorous, well, at least for me, it's humorous point of view. So those are the 3 audiobooks on Audible. And then in addition to that, I have just self-published audio programs.
Online?
Yeah, well, they're basically available from my website, or I've put them on Udemy, the online course thing. Like there's one called 19 Cash Flow Strategies for Musicians and Bands, which you can purchase from my website, and it's a downloadable MP3s, and they come with worksheets where I kind of go through different kind of out-of-the-box ways to earn money from your music, and people listen along and are encouraged to fill out worksheets and apply the ideas to their own situation, and hopefully, a lot of people have benefited from that and come up with some fresh ways to make money.
The reason why I'm zeroing in on the audios, a lot of people, they have trouble reading or they're blind and they need to hear.
Yes.
What
And I'm a big fan of audiobooks myself. I love listening to podcasts and audiobooks. And so, yeah, that's why even though it's a bit of extra work, I try to create things in multiple formats.
Yes.
Because different people learn in different ways.
Disabled?
And so, again, there's the readers. They prefer text, and some of them are okay with reading the ebooks on a computer screen, or on a reader or a tablet. Other people like the printed books. I've got audio stuff. I've got online courses that include video. Some people like worksheets, some people don't, again, depending on your learning style. And then there's live events too, which I wish I did more of those, but that's a whole nother experiential level of learning where you're together with a group of people in the same room.
Like do
You're
workshops?
doing exercises and interacting. And so, yeah, I try to hit people from multiple angles, so no matter what your learning style is, like you'll get something out of it.
So, it's getting on towards the end of the our show, darn it. I was just wondering, how can people, when they're just starting out as musicians, be encouraged by you to not give up, to not just, say I'm a singer and I'm doing nothing else. They have to know everything about the business, about music, so they can.
Yeah. I don't think they need to know everything about the business, it's like no matter what your area of creativity is, I'm hoping first and foremost you do it for the love of it. I decided long ago, even though I had in my teens and early 20s, I had ambitions of being a rock star, being a full-time musician. And then when I started getting into publishing my own local newspaper and the books and all that, I started realizing that, I'm not really cut out to hit the road and probably dedicate everything it would take to be a full-time musician. So I decided that this would be a part-time, lifelong activity of mine, and that's exactly what it's become. So I hope, if somebody is would throw in the towel after a couple of years of trying to be full-time and then stop doing music because they couldn't make a living off of it, it almost seems to me like it's not really part of who they are.
It's not really their love.
So it's got to be something that you would do regardless.
Yeah.
And so I would pursue your craft, your in music, with enthusiasm, have fun along the journey regardless of what the outcome is. However, yes, learn all that you can, read books. The Guerrilla Music Marketing Handbook by yours truly is a great start for learning about marketing, and certainly learn about how things work. But don't let people think that they need to know everything about like you said, you kind of use that phrase, everything about the business before they can do anything effectively. And no, just take action. Just share your music, connect with fans, and yeah, just do the best that you can. You'll learn as you go, and
The hard
yeah.
one.
So it's kind of like my best advice there.
You know, you have been an inspiration for me and my audience. Thank you, Bob Baker, of the Buzz Factor, right?
That's right. TheBuzzFactor.com is my music marketing site. Thank you, Patty. It's been a pleasure being
I'd
your
like to
guest.
have
I
you
appreciate
back.
it.
I'd like to have you back on my show, if I may.
All right,
We can talk about other aspects what you have been up to as well, eh?
we'll do that.
Okay, yours is a beautiful website, and I enjoyed looking through it. It's very inspirational.
Thank you very much.
Good day, sir.
So long.
Good day, eh?
Godspeed, my love, until we